founders of Gut Stuff, and when I saw them talk, I went, that's what I want Wellbeing to do. And you'll see today that they've really embodied behaviour change, branding, and taken a social issue, a health issue, and really smashed it. So it's a real honour to have you here, and let's start with you, Alana.
Cool.
Big round of applause.
Yeah, sorry you're not getting two for the price of one today, but she's currently on a flight back from Amsterdam. Probably God knows in what state. Hashtag gut health.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not going to go too much into like gut health tips and things like that, but it grabbed me outside and we can talk all things poo. So I just thought it would be good to talk a bit about how the company started, because it was totally random fate, where we're going and where we want to go in the future. But any sort of like specific gut health questions, yeah, just grab me and I'll do my best to answer. So my sister and I are actually DJs. I don't know if we've got any Love Island fans in, but we DJ on Love Island. So yeah, like people are just like, I just don't quite get it. You're the DJs from Love Island and you own a gut health business. But yeah, it works in some sort of way. So we got into gut health totally randomly. So we volunteered for Twin Research about 4 or 5 years ago, which is a big research facility at King's College. And we just signed up because it was like getting a free Bupa test every so often. And my sister was meant to do medicine at uni and I was meant to do law and business, and then we went to dance and drama school. So you can imagine our working class family, first people to get into university, their faces when we said that we weren't going to do the degrees we were meant to. But when we were volunteering for Twin Research, it was sort of scratching an itch that we didn't necessarily have in the entertainment industry, and we were just fascinated by it. So we did various different tests with them, but we were actually one of the first people in the world to have our guts analysed. So the research in the microbiome had been going on for quite a long time, but the Human Genome Project had just finished in the States, and they realised that they could use that same technology to sequence gut bacteria. So normally with medical science they'll do a lot of it on twins because they're a great constant. A lot of the twins that they use at Twin Research are maybe in their 50s and 60s and don't want any invasive treatments. I mean, absolutely fair enough. But when Tim said to us, do you want to take part in this new study, you've got to send your poo off in the post every day for 2 months and get 4 colonoscopies by a really fit doctor, I was like, yes, sound, we're in. So that is how our gut health journey began. So they found out through our bodies that even though we have 100% the same DNA, we only have 30 to 40% the same microbiome, and that was pretty groundbreaking at that time. It was responsible for a lot of things that had happened to us over the years that doctors didn't really understand why. Like I got arthritis when I was 7 and Lisa didn't, and the doctors were just baffled because it was a hereditary type of arthritis, but we now know that arthritis links to the microbiome, and there were just different things throughout our childhoods that were completely different, but yet we were bringing up the same. So they then did the same study on 200 other sets of twins and found exactly the same. When we were going through all the research, we just actually got a bit angry as to why nobody knew this. So we were speaking to scientists within Parkinson's immunology, and actually a lot of them were talking about the importance of the microbiome. And people had started talking about it in the Guardian and the Times, like kombucha kefir, woohoo! But actually not really understanding, and the people that needed the message most, for example, like where we're from in Scotland, weren't getting the information. So it was a sort of the perfect storm in that sense as well, because the sort of clean eating backlash had started, and it was that whole thing of what works for one person is going to work for everyone. But actually, if 2 identical twins can't be sold the same diet, then how can we all be sold the same thing? So this was how the company started, and it was just a bit of a passion project. So we set up a YouTube series, just us interviewing like the top scientists in the world, and we'd literally just cold called them and was like, can we come and speak to you? Sorry we're not Radio 4, but... And they were like, because you're not Radio 4, coming down. And we ended up, like 6 episodes turned into 36 episodes, and we interviewed all the top scientists across the board from each different... So then we were like, we need to set up a website, because ethically we need somewhere for people to go if they want more information and to have a bit of a hub. And then New York Times hailed gut health as is the thing of 2017, and the website hits started going through the roof. But genuinely at that time, I had made this shit logo on Photoshop, and the website was just horrendous. I mean, I should have probably got a photo of that. It was meant to look like, I mean, it was just so bad. The branding was awful. But anyway, we ended up teaming up with JKR, who at the time were a big branding agency, but they do things like Mars and Heinz. They wanted to get more into helping startup brands, and obviously writing quite a lot of their stuff. I mean, they'd done fags and chocolate for ages, and realised obviously getting into the health and wellness thing. So we were like the first company. They took equity, they did all the branding, and the branding is amazing. And it sort of set us up to be a bit more on a global platform. They also gave us office space, which was great. So we started to think about the company more like a business and less like a passion project. So as we were going through all this research, and as more and more research has started coming out, we were realising how important it is. I mean, Hippocrates said that thousands of years ago, and everyone just chose to ignore the poor guy. It's linked to all these different things, and I think when people say gut health, you think IBS, IBD, or, well, as a lot of our friends were like, what, my beer belly, what, Yakult? And you're like, sort of. But it's a lot more complicated than that. But we set up a mission, and what we were realising as well is that you had clinicians and GPs, nutritionists, dietitians, a big expensive gap, and then the public. And none of them were speaking to each other. A lot of the time they were arguing with each other more than anything else. So we didn't quite foresee that this is where the company would sit, but we see ourselves actually being the piece that links all these bits together. And obviously health and wellness is seen as a middle class luxury. And it shouldn't be. It's seen as, wellness is seen as one thing and health is seen as another, and actually it should all be one thing. And God bless NHS, it has to be, but it's set up as a system of symptoms rather than prevention. And we sort of set out, if we can get a millennial audience thinking about a preventative nature, which they're already starting to do. I mean, 25% of kids don't drink, which is mental. It's like, how are you going to make all the mistakes that we made? But drinking coffee, I don't think so. So we sort of have built the company around bridging those gaps. So we want to establish a gut health category across food, supplement, services and education. So education is the main piece that a lot of people are missing. And when at the Gut Stuff, our main aim is to make it fun and accessible. When we were interviewing the scientists, it was like, pretend we're toddlers when they're explaining things, because it's a complex subject, it's a personalised subject. There's a few reasons why it's not become so mainstream yet, is that pharmaceutical companies aren't making money out of it yet. It's too personalised, it's difficult, the research is still so new. So even though we can say general sweeping things, they still don't know what each individual bacteria does. It's still just a bit of a minefield. But we were like, at the very least, people should realise how important it is. So we set up the online platform. The main thing when people were coming to the website, they were like, all this information is great, but how does it affect me and how can I change my gut health? So we set up the e-commerce site just with brands that we liked, trusted, and knew that their products worked and that were easily accessible for everyone. We're the only global free Ask a Nutritionist site in the world, and we're looking to expand that out. So at the minute we just have nutritionists, but we're looking to expand out to dietitians and GPs as well. It's difficult when you're having a business that's just an online platform and an education piece, because how do you make money out of that? So we used brands' money to do videos, so social media and YouTube, but we were never going to be like that hashtag ad, Love Island charcoal toothpaste style. So we were like, let's use brands' money to educate. So we did a big campaign with Nairn's Oatcakes, which our mum was delighted about, good old Scottish brand there. And I mean, that's when she was like, oh, I get it, Nairn's, right, aye, that's good. So obviously we did like a bit of a fibre campaign with them. We did a de-juice series with a company called VSL3, which is a probiotic, where we taught the audiences how to deduce scientific papers. Because the thing is as well with probiotics is you go into, we can get into this later, but you go into the supermarket and it's like 5 billion squillion cultures and you're just like, well, what does that mean? And we did a big piece on how to know about clinical trials and what ones, because a lot of time clinical trials are done on 5 mice, and it's like, right, none of us are all Mickey Mouse, so how is that going to affect me?